So the F87 M2 is one of my favourite cars I've ever driven. Ever since these beauties were released, I've been dying to get behind the wheel of a G series. So without further ado, let's jump inside, give it a spin, and I'll give you my honest thoughts.
The winner is Car Right!
So the first place I really want to touch on with the M2 is what has divided the internet, as if people need more division than ever. But the M2 for definite has been a controversial or conversational topic between purists and BMW fans and motor fans of the like, because I was in probably the vast majority of the opinion when I first saw images, the press releases, videos of this car. I didn't like it for a second. I didn't like the front end. I didn't really like what BMW were, or where BMW were going with a lot of their fronts, sides and ends of cars, the kidney grills and everything. Just, they felt a bit weird at the time, but most people would agree the M4 and the M2 now look brilliant. Sorry, the M4 and the M3, and I think the M2 is in and around that category as well. Now, you really need to see this car in the flesh because I don't think photos and videos do it justice. I was still hard under the impression that I didn't like the styling of this car until we had it in stock. I'm a really, really big fan. And I think what they've gone for and what they've done is they've completely transitioned the F series to the G series to make it a completely different car. It's almost not an M2, and I'll talk about that in a little bit of a while. But when I say not an M2, it's not what an M2 used to be, but I think for the right reasons. Now, if we just walk around the car, the main thing is how different and aggressive this car looks. Alex, if you just come around this side and we wander around the side, if you just look down the swage lines and the line of the car, that rear quarter is so aggressive, and it's something they categorically missed with the F series. It didn't have that aggressive feel or almost that real road presence. It was a very beautiful car on the road, but the G series definitely has that. I mean, you just look at the shape and the size of that quarter, it is phenomenal. Now, the previous owner to this car has obviously added a couple of little features. It's got some Maxim design kits, rear splitter, side skirts. It's lowered as well. Now we've got 19s on the front, 20s on the rear as standard. Normally you do a shoe test. I can barely get my hand in. In fact, when I touch the tyre, I can't get my ring in. So it is nice and low, it is nice and stiff. It's a lot stiffer from factory than the F series as well. I'll touch on that in a moment. Really nice carbon spoiler, the all-important carbon roof as well. Quad pipes. But I think what they've done with the car is phenomenal. Oh, if you come around the front, actually, I missed quite an important feature, which makes a big difference, I think, to this car in, hold on, if I just give it a quick open. There you are, CS style lights on the front. So the previous owners got the daytime running lights with the all important CS, the yellow. Looks absolutely phenomenal. Can't see it that much side in the sunlight, but in the shade there, it looks absolutely banging. Toronto red is the paint. As you can see, it's a really nice sort of metallic fleck through, and it transitions between red and orange, really as per daytime sunlight. I think it's a beautifully well presented car. I'm a big fan of this car, and I wasn't ever until I had one or saw one in the flesh. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. I know it divides a lot of people, this car, but I'm slowly warming. So we can all see the exterior's had a massive upgrade and change. The interior, though, has followed suit, arguably more so. It is a completely different car inside of here. The first thing to note, though, isn't the bigger wraparound screen dashes or carbon fibre everywhere. It is these seats. These upgraded seats compared to the F series are mega. They are night and day of a comparison. The M2 actually illuminates in the headrest as well, which is a really, really nice feature, but they are beautifully comfortable and they hold you into the bolsters really nicely when you're pushing this car on some V-roads, which we'll do in a moment. But there's such a good compromise between looks, comfort, and also safety to keep you in nice and firm. Carbon fibre absolutely everywhere in this car, which is perfect. And the good thing is as well, I'd be comfortable doing this in a 50 grand car that isn't mine because carbon fibre doesn't scratch. Anytime you've got crappy piano black, it scratches. Carbon fibre holds, which is perfect. So it'll hold its look going forward. It also looks fantastic. Obviously you've got your ambient lighting. Also, if I can show you this here, this all illuminates, so the old BMW sort of flag or colour, if you like, these illuminate little LEDs at night, which is a really nice feature. This car is dripping with feature, all your parking aids you need, Harman Kardon, obviously you've got your big dual screens, head-up display, reverse camera, it's got the comfort pack as well, but it comes absolutely dripping with spec, heated seats, everything you need. It's obviously got manual control, so if I give this little button a click, the valves have opened, and if I just go to M mode here, you can change between road, sport and track. That changes a lot of your dynamic controls, but also all of my visual controls. So the dash has changed, the head-up display's changed. Within that, you've got full setup. So the engine, Sport Plus, chassis, steering, and braking. So you can configure that M1 and M2. That isn't anything normal to an M car in a sense, but it just feels really nice in here. All the infotainment, everything works really nicely. I'm still a big fan that they've got knobs and buttons. When brands focus too much just on big screens, Volvo, it doesn't work. You need to be able to use this as well. It is, however, obviously touchscreen on this one as well. So yeah, I've always been a big fan of BMW interiors. I think they put sort of drivers first. They're very obviously BMW is a very driver focused brand, but everything seems to be revolved around the driver when you're in a BMW, which is perfect because that's exactly what matters to you when you're driving it. So that's a bit of an update for the interior, but they've absolutely smashed it out of the park on this one. Let's take it for a spin now. So alongside the styling then, there's obviously a couple of key features and differences between the F Series and the G Series. The first thing being notably so, and I think most people know about already, is the change in engine. Now we've still got the very famous inline six-cylinder that BMW like to use, but instead of the S55 engine, it's the S58 engine, and that makes a big difference. So the power before was about 370. The power now on the S58 is about 460 brake horsepower, so that makes such a big difference to a small car like this. Now, I said there's a couple of things about that make it feel a lot more stiffer, and certainly the first thing to note, it's wider. It is a considerable amount wider than the previous car. It's weird because it feels wider than it actually is, which is almost a good thing. So it's actually, the previous generation was 185 centimeters and this one's 188, but when you're sat inside of it, it feels a lot wider. Performance figures, let's quickly touch on that then. So 0 to 60 is about 4.1 seconds, but we all know how BMW aren't very honest when it comes down to that. Top speed is 155 mile an hour, it's 155 mile an hour, but I have a sneaky suspicion if you were on Jersey or Guernsey or the Autobahn, I think you'd be able to get it a little bit further than 155, but that's just me speculating based on how BMW have behaved in the past. Now, something that definitely equates to why this car is much different, and yes, the power is quite significantly up by 90 brake horsepower, but it is a lot heavier. The car is actually 150 kilograms heavier than the previous generation. It's now running about 1,700 kilograms. It's also a heck of a lot longer. It's actually 112 millimeters longer. So all of that combined, it feels completely different on the road. The F Series felt very nimble and agile. This car feels extremely planted. They're almost not much of the same car. Now, I just want to talk about some big changes underneath the engine, underneath the actual chassis and bodywork itself. Now, it's a much larger and heavier chassis than the F Series, and there's also a lot of bracing that goes on underneath. So the braces are actually welding, and there's some extra braces to the chassis, making this car completely different. It feels massively different on the road. So I'm going to give it a bit of a spin now, properly open it up and get a real feel for the real differences without hitting a sheep, actually, because there's sheep here. I don't know if you noticed that. There's quite literally sheep that are just running around on this open. We're almost like on the side of a runway, really, and there's sheep, so that could be interesting. So I'm going to do a couple of speed runs without killing any sheep. So we're on a nice bit of open road now with a couple of sheep in the distance to aim for, but it is obviously not my car, so I'm not going to be launching this car from zero. We're going to do a bit of a rolling pause to see what the car's got, to really understand how much difference that brake horsepower has made. You ready? A little bit of traction through first and second there that sort of bogged us down a little bit, but it's sunny today, but it isn't the warmest. It is about 10, 11 degrees out, and we've had a bit of a steady drive up, so there's not much temperature in the tyres, but that was quick. And it sounds good as well, doesn't it? It sounds really good. That that 6-cylinder engine. I'm a really big fan of this car actually. So I think what we're going to do now, you want to jump outside and we'll get some sound from the outside to see what it sounds like, mate. So now we've found out how quick the car is in a straight line, and actually with the upgraded difference between the 90 brake horsepower from the F to the G series, you'd sort of expect that. And I think that's exactly what the car does really well. And there's two big differences between the F and the G. And I think the F series was a very light, delicate car that you could throw in and out of corners really nicely and have the back end step. The G series is a lot more planted, and obviously we talked about the weight difference, the width, the length, and also the upgraded chassis and strengthening through the chassis itself and the extra braces. Now, what does that equate to on some of the B roads? Does it still have the same essence of what the F used to give you? And I think the answer's yes. It just means you can push it a little bit harder. So in anyone's remit, that's a plus. This car is a lot more confidence inspiring than the F series, simply because of aforementioned the weight and the chassis and the width and the length of everything. It just equates to now, they've created an absolute animal. This car is phenomenal to drive in every single aspect. It's quick in the corners, it's quick in a straight line, it's still beautifully well balanced. It sounds great on the downshifts, there's some nice burbles and overruns. It's just such a well-rounded car, this, and you've absolutely smashed it out of the park. Now, if you can get over the dodgy front-end styling that the majority of people have, I think what you've got here is a phenomenal car. Now, we've got some really nice B-roads on the way home, on the way back to the business, and I'm certainly going to really enjoy myself and unleash some of that 460 brake or 470 brake horsepower that this car has to offer. Now, we mentioned how wide the car is. It is a lot wider than it feels, hence there was a little bit narrow, wasn't it there? I think, yeah, we have to get Nick, the painter and decorator, in to do a couple of quarter panels there. No, but it's phenomenal, this car, and I think the width of it actually plays benefit. Like I said, it's very different to the F series. It's almost not the same car. What they've created is a much more rounded animal, and I think they've knocked it out of the park. I really, really do. So we'll jump back to base now, talk to you a little bit more about the history of the car itself, and ultimately what we're selling it for. So let's quickly summarise then my final thoughts on the new M2, because as I mentioned, the F series was one of my favourite cars I've ever driven. Does this car exceed it? I think it does, and it's a very difficult decision because the F series is so beautifully well balanced and to drive. The only big difference for me is it's a lot more planted on the rear. It's a lot more confident inspiring. You still get a lot of fun in the car. It doesn't lose anything that you'd expect from a purist driver's car. BMW have absolutely smashed it out of the park again with this car. I think it looks the absolute business. The interior is phenomenal and it drives excellently. Yeah, they've absolutely done wonders. Again, the nerds at BMW just don't stop. Now, the car itself is for sale at Cartwright Limited. 51995, it's only done 13,000 miles, full BMW service history with the all-important running in service. Any questions or queries, get the boys on the phone. Jack and Jordan are available on sales to hand. I'm really smitten. I'm really, really impressed with this car. And I was a bit nervy, to be honest, because like I said, I love the F series so much, but the G series has really, really impressed me.